implication is a way of expressing a relationship between two statements. It is often interesting to ask whether there are other relationships between the statements. Here we introduce some common language to address this question. The converse and the contrapositive. The converse of an implication P implies Q is the implication Q implies P. So you flip the implication. The converse is not logically equivalent to the original implication. That is, whether the converse of the implication is true is completely independent of the truth of the implication P implies Q. So just because you know Q implies P doesn't mean you know P implies Q, and vice versa. The contrapositive of an implication, P implies Q, is the statement not Q implies not P. And this is where it gets interesting. An implication and its contrapositive is logically equivalent. They are both either true or both false. Now, mathematics is overflowing with examples of true implications which have a false converse. If a number greater than 2 is prime, then that number is odd. However, just because a number is odd does not mean it is a prime. If a shape is a square, then it is a rectangle. But it is false that if a shape is a rectangle, then it must be a square. However, sometimes the converse of a statement is also true. For example, the Pythagorean theorem has a true converse. The Pythagorean theorem, if you remember, is if a squared plus b squared equals c squared, then the triangle with sides a, b, and c is a right triangle. Whenever you encounter an implication in mathematics, it is always reasonable to ask whether the converse is true. The contrapositive, on the other hand, always has the same truth value as its original implication. This can be very helpful in deciding whether an implication is true. Often, it's easier to analyze the contrapositive rather than the original statement. And so we can focus on the contrapositive and then make some conclusions about the original implication since they're both the same thing. All right, let's do an example together. True or false? If you draw any 9 playing cards from a regular deck, then you will have at least 3 cards, all of the same suit. And then we'll do the converse later. So let's start with the original implication, true or false? Well, this is definitely true, but it's actually kind of difficult to analyze with how it's written. So let's take a look at the contrapositive. So the contrapositive, if we think of this as this right here is our P, and then this portion we'll think of as Q, then let's take a look at the contrapositive, which is not Q implies not P. Is it true that if you have at most 2 cards, all of the same suit, then you did not draw 9 cards? This is definitely true, and it's a little bit easier to see why when we write it like this. If you have at most 2 cards, all of the same suit, then you can have at most 2 spades, 2 diamonds, 2 clubs, and 2 hearts. There we go, I got it. There are 8. You can have at most 8 cards here in this example. And so it's definitely not true that you drew 9 cards. If you drew 9 cards, then one of your suits you'd have at least 3 of one suit, no matter what. And so if you draw any 9 playing cards from the regular deck, then you will have at least 3 cards, all of the same suit. This is a true statement. Is the converse true? So in this case, instead of if you have at most 2 cards, it would be at least 3 cards, all the same suit, then you did draw 9 cards. Well, if you have at least 3 cards, all of the same suit, that doesn't necessarily mean that you drew 9 cards. So for example, I can draw 3 spades, and that's it. I satisfied the hypothesis of this implication, the premise, but I did not satisfy the conclusion. I only have 3 cards. I have 3 spades. So understanding converses and contrapositives can be really helpful, and they can help understand implications and their truth values. Let's do one more example together. Suppose I tell Sue that if she gets a 93% on her final, then she will get an A in the class. Assuming that what I said is completely true, what can you conclude in the following cases? Let's start with number 1. Sue gets a 93% on her final. Well, if what I said is true, she satisfies the premise of the implication, she gets a 93% on her final, then she gets an A. So that's the conclusion here. She gets an A in the class. Number 2, let's suppose Sue gets an A in the class. Can we deduce anything from this? Well, not quite. We can't say that she got a 93%. And this is where it gets a little tricky. We want to say that she got a 93% on her test, but the converse is not necessarily true. Just because P implies Q is true does not necessarily mean that Q implies P is true. What can we conclude? Well, we can't really conclude anything because she could have gotten a 94%. She could have gotten a 97%. There are many things that could probably get her to that A. I just gave her one sufficient way of getting an A. Sue does not get a 93% on her final. Well, if she doesn't get a 93% on her final, that just means that she could have gotten a 94% or maybe a 70%. We don't know what she got, and so I can't really tell you what happens in that scenario. So in this case, we can't make any conclusions here. And then last but not least, let's say Sue does not get an A in the class. Well, if she didn't get an A in the class, then we can definitely say that she did not get a 93%. Because if she got a 93%, then she would have gotten an A, and it's impossible to get it for me to say that she gets an A and then she doesn't get an A for getting a 93% on the test, on her final. So for that reason, we know she didn't get a 93% on the final. She could have gotten a 91 or a 72 or something like that. Who knows? So this is how implications can get tricky. As you can tell, it's really hard to understand an implication when we have this natural tendency to want to gravitate towards the converse. The implication and the converse sound so similar. So it's really tempting, for example, for number 2, it's really tempting to say that she got a 93. And I know many students out there thought for a moment, at least, I even thought for a moment when I first saw this, just for a brief moment, like I wanted to gravitate, she got a 93. That's what I wanted to say. That's not necessarily the case. And that's why mathematics is pretty distinguished between, colloquial language, where we're saying, where we would say for number 2 that, oh yeah, she must have gotten a 93 then, obviously. But that's not obvious in mathematics. So we have to be very, very specific in mathematics. Anyways, thanks everyone, and I'll see you in the next lecture.